If you're ready to unlock more better days, to take control of your health, to push past your limits and unleash your full potential, then you're in the right place. I'm your host, Dr. Jeremy Bettle. For over 2 decades, I've worked with elite athletes and high performers, helping them optimize their bodies, strengthen their minds, and recover from setbacks. Now I'm bringing that expertise to you through the Vitality Collective podcast. In each episode, we'll dive deep into the science, strategies, and real-world solutions you can apply right away. Whether it's enhancing your physical performance, avoiding or recovering from injury, sharpening your mental edge, or simply feeling your best every single day. With insights from top experts and thought leaders, this podcast is designed to help you take action, feel better, and live the life that you deserve. Welcome to the Vitality Collective podcast, where every day is vital. Today, I'm joined by Dr. Nathan Jenkins, a former University of Georgia professor in exercise physiology with nearly 100 published research papers, who now serves as the lab analyst for rapid health optimization. In this conversation, we talk about what your standard annual physical is missing, covering why so many people are deficient in key nutrients like magnesium, a critical link between gut health and systemic inflammation, and the difference between aging that you can control and aging that you can't. If you're somebody who's been trying to do everything right, but still not feeling quite optimal, this conversation's for you. Let's get into it. Welcome back, everybody. Today, it's such a pleasure to welcome Dr. Nathan Jenkins to the show, who's actively been out in the world coaching, who's now deep into the world of blood work, but all of that underpinned with a background of walking the walk. If you've seen Dr. Nathan on Instagram, you'll just have seen how hard he works, commitment to the nutritional side, commitment to family that we were just talking about. This is going to be such a rich show because of that background. Nathan, welcome.
Thanks for having me. Thank you to you and Michelle for facilitating this, man. I'm excited to be here.
Yeah, really excited to have the conversation, man. So I'd love to work almost backwards from your current role. You're deep in this world now as a lab analyst with the blood work. How has that previous work created context and created and informed the work that you're doing today?
That's a good question, a good place to start. I have academic training in exercise physiology, which is itself a very, very broad field. My focus area when I was in the university, which, just for context, I was a professor for 9 years before I left that role to focus on nutrition coaching at first. And there was overlap here, but that was probably a 6 or 7 year period leading up to most recently this year, where I kind of pivoted from nutrition coaching to the performance coaching and blood work analytics role now. But going back to the beginning of it all, the training in exercise physiology specifically focused on cardiovascular physiology and metabolic health. My focus when I was running a research lab and in that space is in exercise for the prevention and treatment of cardiovascular and metabolic diseases. I really liked the integrative type of work where I did mostly human studies. I did a brief foray a couple of years with my postdoc, focused a lot on animal models of disease, and did quite a bit of cell culture and molecular biology type of work. So I really like the integration at all levels of physiological organization like that and mechanistic insight, also getting from studies, but I had a very top-down view meaning like, yes, I would like to get mechanistic insight from the research that we did, but also it needed to be highly clinically relevant. And when we could do that in the same type of experiment, that was always my favorite kind of work. So to answer your question, the work that I'm doing now, there's a lot of overlap there, at least for me conceptually, where I take an individual client and I'm part of a team that we do a very, very broad assessment of their physiology, including some fitness related parameters like strength, VO2 max, body composition, and among other parameters. And then also take a look at their, what we call their visible stressors. So get insights into their sleep status using an Oura ring, look at their nutrition, their hydration status, stress load, emotional, mental, and psychological stress load. And then we have a whole battery of tests that they go through. And then my side of it is what we call the hidden stressors, which is blood work, urine, stool, and saliva. We can get into all that. Going back to like my training as a physiologist and my school of thought that I had when I was working in the academic space, I'm actually coming back to quite a bit of that now in this current role, which is integration of many different physiological systems and kind of connecting dots and getting deep insights into what's going on physiologically with these folks. So we can talk all about this, but if there's an inflammatory profile, when I look at their white blood cells, that's one of the white blood cell distribution from like a CBC panel. That can be very, very telling a lot of times about what might be going on in their gut health. And so you can say, we see a profile that's skewed from the optimal range or the normal healthy range, where say monocytes are elevated by some percentage. That's a clue for me to go look at the GI panel and say, okay, what's going on there? A lot of times if I see that and I correlate it with their symptoms that they fill out in the questionnaire, and then I go look at their gut health. Oh, look, they've got some dysbiosis and significant GI inflammation going on too, because of that integration between the immune system and gut health. That's a big connection. Hopefully it paints the picture of, as a physiologist, you're trained to think about integration and relationship between things. And that is a big thing in my current role.
Yeah. And I think you've highlighted beautifully there. I think the industry right now is sort of, there are two trends popping up for me. There's the science communicator who is now really for the first time coming out of the lab and having a forum to communicate their work in a very, very public setting. And a lot of that data that's being presented is often early mechanistic data. And for those who are listening who might not be familiar with that term, it's like these small pathways, right? These little functions that happen within a cell or within the body. And we can extrapolate from those things that may be going on. And I think there's probably a bit of overgeneralization of, we found this mechanism, so now everyone should do this.
Yeah.
Right.
Oh yeah, that happens a lot.
So
I wish I could think of a good example, but that off the top of my head, but it happens so often. It's like,
I think we're seeing it in the women's hormone space right now, in the women's health space, with a lot of mechanistic data coming out of animal models. And now it's like, okay, you wasted your day at the gym if you didn't eat protein, or you should only be doing 10-second sprints, or you should only be doing, name the outcome.
Or training at specific phases of the menstrual cycle in certain ways.
With very little actual clinical evidence. And so I think that's one track we're going. But what I love about your background and what you're doing now is this other track is integrated health. I think practitioners are seeing more and more that it's not just about this one piece, right? It can't just be about the blood work or, the silos of medicine and strength and conditioning and physical therapy. It's just one system.
That's right.
And we all have to impact it from our own perspectives, but it's a multi or interdisciplinary view of it, really.
That's right. Yeah, 100%.
With your work now, you're deep into blood work. You said you're looking at sort of 500 plus markers. When I go to the doctor, right, I go for my annual checkup and I go to see my physician. He runs my blood work. What can I expect from that annual physical with my physician? And then I guess how would we contrast it? Because he's not taking 500 markers there.
No, it's usually like a complete blood count and a complete metabolic panel. Which is great. It's great to get those done. And maybe I remember on my last one in May, which is right around my birthday. I go every year as well. There was those two plus like vitamin D, and that was pretty much it.
Right.
The ones that, for example, the ones that we run through a company, like I guess call it a sister company, called Vitality Blueprint. Our clients have that their elite panel done as part of our broad assessment, and that has 129 blood markers in it.
Mm-hmm.
When I talk about 500 biomarkers, that's across the total of all of our
Sure.
testing that we do, including the stool and saliva and all of that stuff. So and urine. But yeah, is certainly from a performance physiology perspective, what you get at the doctor's office is as a part of a standard routine checkup isn't a full picture of one's overall physiology. So there's other panels like iron status panels, different hormone panels, thyroid, testosterone, estrogen, and sex hormone panels. We take a much deeper, take a deeper dive and a broader assessment of it all.
So what is that panel telling me? When I go to the doc, like what are we screening for with those panels that you mentioned?
Yeah, from a health standpoint, the big ones are going to be things like fasting blood glucose, HbA1c, the lipid markers, the total cholesterol, LDL cholesterol, HDL, et cetera, et cetera. You get indices of immune system function and status. That is your white blood cells, the CBC. That is lymphocytes, neutrophils, monocytes, eosinophils, basophils. So we look at the numbers of the doctor will look at the total amounts of those. And also, like I was talking about before, the distribution. They should be roughly represented in certain percentages for each of them. And if those are off, then that can be telling about like infection, or like maybe those will be skewed, like if you have a cold, for example, like that.
Yeah, sure.
And then there's a number of red blood cell indices. Different types of anemia can present. There's the variety of electrolytes, sodium, potassium, chloride, that can give insights into hydration status for sure, and physiological stress. The ratio of sodium potassium is fairly telling about chronic stress. So that's a high level overview of what you'll get at your standard blood draw.
Yeah, so much more sort of high level, like health related biomarkers. What are we missing, and why is it important for people to start taking that bit of a broader view and a deeper dive here?
I can start talking about things I see a lot in our panels that you wouldn't see in a standard panel. We talk a bit about micronutrients, which are really underappreciated. And I'm going to speak a bit from my background in nutrition coaching. My take from working deeply in that space is that there's historically been an underappreciation of the importance of micronutrients by a large swath of that community. Not every, like there's some people who've been saying this for a long time, that you can be, I've seen it quite a bit where somebody can be doing most of the right, quote unquote, most or all of the right things in terms of having their body composition relatively dialed in, which is a function of energy balance and having a really good understanding of like macronutrient distribution and quantities for their goals and their fitness. So to getting that gram of protein per pound body weight, getting that, getting the carbohydrates and fats dialed in based on their activity levels and body composition goals. But doing it in a way, I don't know if you ever heard of this approach that was really popular about a decade ago, but like If It Fits Your Macros is the name of the diet. It's extremely popular, and maybe it still is in a certain way, but it's like, as long as you're in calorie balance, you can have really whatever you want, including like donuts, which you should, I'll be the first to say you should have a donut once in a while. But I remember this is also like in the upward trajectory of Instagram fitness. And I remember seeing these pictures of like a whole plate of like a whole meal, most of which was comprised of donuts and like a chicken breast. And then, oh, look, I hit my macros. And it's like, okay. And not being extreme in this, but it's generally illustrative of this lack of appreciation of micronutrients, which is just to say, eat your vegetables, right?
Right.
Well, okay. But look, the blood work that I've seen over the last, call it year or so that I've been in this role, it's incredibly interesting to me how deficient a lot of us are in multiple different micronutrient domains. The three, I'll
Interesting.
give you a few big ones real quick, especially among like athletic populations or active, even not even necessarily athletes, but like active people, like people who are fitness enthusiasts who are people who are just looking to be healthy and again, doing a lot of the right things, but their micronutrient status is a kind of a train wreck. So omega-3s, which
Right.
technically is a fatty acid. So whatever, but I'm going to lump it in with micros.
Yeah.
Vitamin D, magnesium, and also multiple B vitamins flag all the time in the panels that I review as being in significant need. Yeah, and that's just from the lack of. Well, most of us just don't eat enough vegetables. That's kind of the bottom line. A lot of us just don't eat enough vegetables. So magnesium is a big one. Almost everybody could do well with working on their magnesium status. Even a lot of times if serum concentrations of magnesium are okay, which again is assessed in the standard blood work.
Sure.
The cellular magnesium status is often quite different.
And how might we differentiate between the two?
So serum magnesium is what you get on a standard blood test, but there's another test called RBC magnesium, which measures the magnesium concentration inside the red blood cell. And that is actually a better indicator than serum magnesium, because serum magnesium is something that is very, very tightly regulated by the body, mainly by kidney reabsorption. If it gets low, then kidneys will work really, really hard to pull it back out of the urine before excretion. So it's very tightly regulated in a very narrow window. Otherwise, you die. It's like very critical to have magnesium in a tight range.
Right.
And our body's very good at that. But that will be preserved even when cellular magnesium status may be low or being depleted. And so, and since magnesium is critical for like 500 something enzymatic reactions in the body, that can have widespread ripple effects when magnesium status is suboptimal. And again, it was something we see all the time. Probably, I'm going to go ahead and put a number to it, about 7 out of 10 clients that come through. If not, maybe 8 or 9 out of 10 clients that come through.
Right.
And we can talk about supplements, but I put them on a magnesium supplement just as a default. And even like that's one that's like so well researched and so like no brainer. We should almost all be on one, to be honest.
Right.
It's like one of those. There's a few supplements I consider to be evergreen, and that's one. Things like sleep quality, cognitive function, muscle fatigue, muscle pain, strength output. That's all related to magnesium status. So massive ripple effects on that one. We can come back to any of these at any point, but it's just to keep going down the list of things that I see as a significant need and often gets overlooked. Multiple B vitamins as well.
Right.
Yeah. And so a correlate of that is a blood marker known as homocysteine.
Yeah.
It's an inflammatory marker. A lot of our clients, again, otherwise healthy, come through with elevations in homocysteine, which is a concern from a inflammation and cardiovascular perspective. And that is almost always tied to a B vitamin need, and maybe even a B vitamin deficiency because of the not to get too far in the biochemistry of it all, but it's this methylation pathway, which some of your listeners may have heard of. The B vitamin's job is essentially to keep that methylation pathway going. But if not, then there's this backlog, and there's the result. The physiological result is an accumulation of homocysteine. But if B vitamins, specifically B6 and B9, are not present in sufficient quantities, this homocysteine molecule it builds up and is a major player in things that we should be significantly concerned about. Things like atherosclerotic cardiovascular disease and inflammation of the arterial wall and all of that. So that's that direct link between B vitamins and cardiovascular health. So that's something that we supplement, but in the sense of just taking a well-formulated multivitamin can do the job.
Sure.
So
yeah, interesting. And so it's fascinating, these micronutrients that I think, having worked in the professional sports world for such a long time, they seemed like quite intuitive parts of the panel, but it's been really interesting coming out of sport and how that hasn't really made its way into general medical practice for the general population. even something that you would think was pretty mainstream, like vitamin D, not showing up in blood panels unless people actually request it.
They ask them. Yeah. Yeah. And that's a concern that I have too. I kind of wish the standard panels were more comprehensive, but then it's a whole business thing. Like I looked into, I've done the vitality panel myself, just out of my own pocket, and it's very expensive, several $100s. And then I looked at like kind of piecemealing it together through just like standard labs, and it would end up being like if you were to do individual tests, individual panels, it can easily amount to like a couple grand worth of blood work. And it's, they nickel and dime you. And then, if you ask your doctor to order specific tests, well, they're like, well, you're not really having symptoms. I don't think like I asked my doctor 2 years ago when I turned 40, it's like, should I get my testosterone checked? Like I would love to get it checked. She's like, well, if you're not having any issues with like libido or, she looked at, she's like, you've got really good muscle mass and body composition. I don't see the need to test your testosterone levels until or unless you have symptoms. And so, I was like, all right, I'll just go get it tested on my own, which was fine.
Okay, then I'll go find it.
But not everybody can do that. And two, it's just a different model. Like the medicine, I don't know if that's a productive conversation or not, but the medical model is different from, and it actually is a productive conversation, because different doesn't necessarily mean bad. It's just set up for a different like purpose and goal. It's like, it's taking care of people once they're already sick. It's not the infrastructure and the framework and the mentality of it all isn't really there to monitor things proactively, preventively, and certainly not for performance physiology, which is what I'm in the business of.
Yeah, and I think that's absolutely the case. And it was the same in sport. When I was hired by a club, it was to move them from a reactive medical model where we wait for the guy to get hurt and then we rehab them, into a proactive model where we monitor all of these different things, regardless of symptoms. And you're going to get interventions if we see things being suboptimal. And we're going to monitor that over time and make sure you stay within these optimal ranges. And so that, for me, in coming out, is what the model we're applying into medicine as well. And I think these markers, like people talk about testosterone and immediately go to libido, muscle mass, like that's the only thing it does, right? That there's receptors in every cell in the body. So
absolutely.
I think it's important also to note that if you want, 100 plus biomarkers, that could cost you a couple $1,000s. If you want vitamin D, it might cost you $3.
Right.
But the message is still, well, your insurance won't pay for that.
That's right.
So immediately I assume, that must be expensive then. But vitamin D might be $3. If you want, maybe ApoB might be $6.
That's right. That's another one that that's really important to look at. It's not included in the standard panel. It's actually, my opinion is ApoB may be more important than LDL.
Right.
It's certainly good to look at them together, but
but
man, it's different. I think, just like anything, we're getting awareness is step one, then conversations and
exactly.
Then change takes a long time. But in the current state of things, it's the people who hire us are people with a fair amount of expendable income that can get this kind of stuff done. So
and I think that's ultimately with Vitality Collective where we've had to start as well, because when you're building something outside of the system, outside of insurance and the traditional model, it is cash pay. And that's the world that we live in. The way we thought about that is that we have to start, right? In order for change to happen, somebody has to start and show that it's possible, right? So there's this big proof of concept going on with people like us, with people like Rapid, who are getting out into the market and actually showing that this is a model that is effective for people. That's raising the awareness, which is raising the demand, which is going to pressure the system on a wider level to change, where it becomes a bit more democratized. But I think we have a fear as health practitioners, we sort of shy away from things that are very exclusive.
Yeah.
And it feels counterintuitive to us because we want to help people feel better. It's just, this is the system that we have to operate in, and we can
Yeah.
fight that and not do it,
Yeah.
or we
Yeah.
can start and help the system change. And
That's right.
that's where I think the work that you're doing, the work that we're doing, I really think it's valuable, and it's
Mm-hmm.
contributing to the wider system.
Yeah. Yeah. One of the things we're talking about internally is how to scale up
Hmm.
and, 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 and that's actually part of the motivation for our mutual context connecting us to have the
Yeah,
conversation. Right. So I think that's really cool
yeah,
to get the word out basically.
yeah. I think so too. And so as you're going into this world, and it's good because now you get to study essentially real humans,
Mm-hmm.
right? So you
That's right.
start
That's right.
gathering this data.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
You've mentioned some of the micronutrients in a
Yep.
previous conversation that you and I have had about what surprised you.
Mm-hmm.
You talked a lot about some of the indicators of gut health and the
Yeah.
microbiome.
Yep.
Can you make that link for us and
Sure.
talk about why that's so important for people?
Yeah. So the other thing that has surprised me in the role is where we're assessing not only the blood markers that we've been talking about, but also the stool analysis, which
Mm,
does a whole assessment of inflammation status, microbial balance, and among other. There's a whole. I don't even know the total number of markers in that
yeah,
test, but it's part of that 500-ish
yeah,
that spans it all. It's a big contribution to it all. But so something that may not be surprising to your listeners, almost everybody also has something going on in their gut that needs addressing.
yeah, yeah.
There's the term that your listeners may have heard is that dysbiosis is extremely common, and to define that is some sort of imbalance in the gut microbiome, which is another term that gets thrown around a lot. Imbalanced gut microbiome. What does that mean? Well, there's generally two types of bacteria in everybody's gut. There are commensal bacteria that are
Mm,
the commensal means good guys.
right.
They live in the gut. They do good things for us. The biggest thing that they do, or there's multiple things that they do, but one of the biggest things that they do is they produce short chain fatty acids when they are given fiber through. So there's like a fermentation process when, in the presence of adequate fiber, which is where going back to the vegetable intake, right?
Hmm.
The commensal bacteria, there's a bunch of different classes, but an example of the one of the beneficial functions that a lot of them do is produce short chain fatty acids, specifically butyrate being a big one.
Hmm.
And the butyrate has widespread anti-inflammatory effects throughout the body, for one thing. And then two, it's also, it is the primary fuel source for the cells that line the
Hmm.
intestine, that line the large intestine. And so when in a state of dysbiosis, there's too few of these butyrate producing microbes.
Mm,
And that essentially there's a lack of fuel available for our intestinal cells, and that triggers an inflammatory cascade. They're basically under fueled. So that's one example. So under a relatively low abundance of the good guys of these commensal
yeah.
bacteria. Hand in hand with that, a lot of the times is an overabundance of the opportunistic bacteria, also known as potentially pathogenic or overtly
Hmm.
pathogenic species of bacteria. And those two tend to go hand in hand. There's
Yeah.
in dysbiosis, there's an elevation of the bad guys and too little of the good guys, and so that's for this kind of this perfect storm of unfavorable environment leading to this
Yeah.
inflammation, and that can have the reason it's not just isolated to symptoms like GI distress, which sure that's a huge thing and something that a lot of our clients complain about, and probably a lot of listeners are listening. They're hearing this and like, oh yeah, that's probably going on. This sounds familiar.
Right. Yeah.
A lot of people have GI issues. Um, there's systemic effects of all this as well. Again, so it turns here's just another interesting and relevant fact is that it turns out about 70% of the body's entire immune system and the entire white blood cells, they're housed in the gut. So the GI immune system is the major component of our immune system as a whole. And so if there's gut inflammation, there's the physiological term that we use is called spillover. The localized inflammation in the gut can have significant spillover to the entire system. So we have systemic inflammation is often linked to localized gut inflammation.
Yeah.
And that has ripple effects on pretty much every other organ system in the body. So that's something that we see a lot and needs to be addressed for a lot of clients. And there's linkages between, you asked me to connect dots. There's linkages between, for example, vitamin D status. So vitamin D is a major player. It's not only its most significant physiological role is to regulate calcium status in the body and bone calcium resorption and absorption and resorption. But it also turns out to be a critical player in the physiology of immunity and inflammation. And so, again, the biochemistry is a bit complex to sit here and wrap on, but the bottom line is inadequate vitamin D status goes hand in hand a lot of times with inflammation, specifically gut inflammation, also skin inflammation. This is a good example of a single case. A client was complaining of both gut health issues and like psoriasis type issues with the skin. Took that as an opportunity to go to a deep dive. I kind of had this theory. I wonder if there's a link there, because I know that vitamin D is important for gut immunity, and I'd come across vitamin D as a link there. So it turns out it's a very similar mechanism. There's a gut microbiome and a skin microbiome. Sure. And as psoriasis, and I'm not an expert on skin physiology, but psoriasis, the essence of what I came across was, and he also had like some of the lowest vitamin D levels I had ever seen, like something like 18 or 19, whereas for reference, this should be certainly above 30. We like our clients to be above 50. So very like clinically deficient vitamin D. It turns out there's a massively important connection. It's kind of new information that there's in the sense that the research articles and the review articles that I came across, they're recent, public, like last 3 to 5 years or so. But there's this idea of crosstalk between gut microbial health, skin microbial health, and vitamin D is a major mediator there. So shore up I need to follow up with the client. It's been long enough now to see if there's any resolution of both symptoms. But my hypothesis would be like, hey, if we get this guy's vitamin D up to something more reasonable, then a lot of that should solve a lot of problems because of that common mechanistic element there. So.
Yeah, it's really interesting, isn't it? The gut, I think there's a whole frontier in medicine here. I really do. I think as we come to understand the microbiome, most of our neurotransmitters are produced by the gut. As you said, butyrate, the leaky gut, right? So if we don't have enough butyrate, we start getting a leaky gut. Molecules that should be inside the gut can start to get outside the gut. And then, of course, inflammatory cascades coming from that.
Yep.
So as we look at this then, what are the important things that people should pay attention to who may not be able to get that? That's one of the reasons that we created this podcast is to start democratizing some of the information. So, okay, I can't go through the full panel. I can't get the stool test.
Yeah.
But there are going to be things and patterns in my health that I should notice that would lead me to take some action. What do you think some of those primary things should be?
There's a few. Speaking specifically on gut health, short of getting a stool sample, doing all that and sending it off and getting analyzed, getting the results, and then having to track someone down to help you interpret it all, which is challenging. Right. I mean, it's not the most pleasant thing to talk about, but pay attention to your bowel movements.
Sure.
If they're not regular in the sense of roughly the same time every day, and if they're not normally formed, if they're either loose, like frequent diarrhea, or too hard, constipation, well, that's a sure sign that something's not. That's something that people just kind of accept as normal. Like, oh yeah, my GI system just a mess. Always has been for
Well,
years. We hear that all the time.
and I
That's not
think
something we
because
should accept. Yeah.
that previous comment you made, this isn't pleasant to talk about, but I think because people don't talk about it, you just think everybody must be experiencing this.
Yep.
And that's not the case.
Yep. It's in this, in a professional setting is when I talk about it with people and they're like, oh, this is so awkward to talk about. It's like, listen, I'm in physiology. I'm unfazed, but it's also, it's very important to get that information. And so that's the first, one thing for sure. But then more than that, to know that it's more than just like an acute upset stomach type of thing. Things like brain fog, or, noticeable changes in like memory, or cognitive function, things of like trying to be able to I guess you lump this under brain fog, but that feeling of trying to either remember something that you should be able to remember, or trying to come up with a word that you know, but you can't think of it right then. If that's happening frequently, then that can absolutely be a symptom of dysbiosis, and the sequelae from that, like you said, with leaky gut and things getting systemic that they shouldn't. So in fact, when I'm scoring, we have a rubric that we use to score our clients, and for this hidden analysis that I talked about in the beginning. And if somebody has a dysbiosis in their stool sample, there's multiple areas that gets flagged in. So gut health is an area, inflammation is an area, physiological resilience is another area, but another big one is brain chemistry, brain health.
Right.
Because of that, it's such a robust connection between gut health and cognitive function and brain health. And so that's to answer your question of what can people kind of take stock of. And then the last one would be just energy/fatigue, especially if there's been any changes. It's a major factor in just feelings of overall kind of energy. If you were to say, what are my energy levels on a day-to-day basis? So one of the things that we put on our intake questionnaire. And gosh, I don't think anybody's ever at a 10 out of 10 all the time. Unless you just have who's that guy? Brian Johnson, the one that's trying to live he's like, he might rate himself at a 10 out of 10. But no.
I don't know, man. I don't think he looks very good. I think he looks pretty sketchy a lot of the time.
There's an interesting look about him. I'll put it that way. Some of his stuff is pretty. I actually have to say, I have this interest in what he's doing, but just from an observation, imagine you with a tub of popcorn, just kind of wow,
it's a curiosity, right?
Very much so, yeah.
Nate, one of the things that I've really noticed over the years, and certainly with my clients now, and gut health always comes into my mind, is people who get sick all the time. Right. Every time there's a cold and flu, every time they go out in public and there's more than 3 people around, they're sick. 100%. And that's a big red flag for me on gut health.
Yep. So it absolutely is. And it's totally consistent with things I've seen. That is one of the things that we look at as far as assessing somebody's physiological resilience. It's how often do you get sick? And people are getting sick all the time. Almost always there's a correlation with their gut health. Almost always. And my own kind of working theory or educated kind of conclusion or working hypothesis would be a safe way to put it, is that when there's a dysbiosis / leaky gut, the immune system is highly activated in the gut. Well, that's consuming quite a lot of the resources when it comes to the other functions of the immune system, which is host defense, defending against foreign invading pathogens, right? Every one of our physiological systems only has so much capacity and so much reserve. And when you're already, if your gut's already maxing out the capacity of your immune system or nearly so, then you're not very resilient to whatever the next cold, the next seasonal illness is going around. So that's another one. Especially, again, the other thing to kind of couch this is if there's any changes in all of this stuff. And a lot of people, in conversation with clients and friends and whoever, the assumption is, well, I guess that's one of the things about getting older, which is happening to all of us. We're the ravages of time. We're all subject to that. And I have to say, I beg to differ. it doesn't have to, like, yes, there are certain things that are inevitable with age, but it's not just chronological age. There's this concept of biological age. And gut health and immunity is a huge part of that. So
Yeah, and I think as well, like, what are the true effects of aging? I think that's really unclear in our society. I think what's been shown over and over again is what we see is not necessarily aging. It's the impact of our lifestyle, our nutrition, our lack of activity. As that decreases over time, our health goes with it.
That's
And
right.
we sort of lazily just apply that to I'm getting older.
Absolutely. 100%.
And it's not a
100%.
physiological aging. It's an adaptation to what you're doing.
That's right. This is something that that is all bringing me back in the best way to my time in the university classroom. In the undergraduate exercise physiology class, it was like a week or 2 weeks that we would have on aging, the physiology of aging, but this concept of and the distinction between primary aging versus secondary aging.
Interesting.
And these are really important terms. This is maybe good for your audience to define those terms. So primary aging is the biological effects of age at a cellular level that are unavoidable and inevitable due to the passage of time, versus secondary aging, which are things that correlate with time and exposure, but can be explained by something other than aging on a fundamental mechanistic level. Right. Sedentary behavior is the big one in the exercise science conversation. Like, if I'm 42, and so I think a lot about like where I want my health to be by the time of my next decade. It's inevitable that when I'm 50, I'll probably be somewhat less fit in some way. But that the magnitude of that decline over these next 8 years depends very much on my behaviors and choices, like my fitness and nutrition and all that stuff, right? My goal is to let those changes be exclusively due to the effects of primary aging. That is just things that I can't avoid related to cellular metabolism and all that. To the extent that I can control it, like so maximize my fitness endeavors and my nutrition and sleep and all that good stuff. I would like to avoid those effects of secondary aging, which is like if I just sit on my ass for the next 8 years, right? And eat whatever I want, whenever I want, in whatever quantity I want. Those are very, very different things. But to your point, I don't know who to blame this on or whatever, but the common conception is that the second scenario, you let that 8 years go by, and then it is, oh gosh, I just got older. Well, that sucks. Well, yeah, you got older, but you also just lived this.
You didn't intervene in any way.
Correct. And so
exactly.
I think that was one of the more, important concepts that I ever had the privilege of teaching at the university level and I remember telling the students, by the way, that's in that phase, I'm not sure what your experience is with like exercise science departments, but that was all teaching to a bunch of future physical therapists. We were like a physical therapy farm, which was great. And so this is going to be your clientele, your customer base is going to be in your care in large degree because of this, or maybe not in your care because of this distinction between how much are they embracing secondary aging and slash trying to avoid it as much as you can. So I love talking about this stuff, man. That's good stuff.
Me too. And it really brings me to the what can we do about it? So we've outlined, certainly with this gut health piece, we've outlined what might you be experiencing? It's so often, name the blood marker, but we'll stick with this one. People want to jump like right to a supplement. You and I have talked about this before. And when it comes to gut health, what probiotics should I take? Well, it's such a complex system, right? And there's so much we can do, and actually more important things that we can do for that system that involve fiber, right? You talked about, like, it's really funny. They eat whatever you want in energy balance, right? And there's a plate of donuts with a chicken breast, and I was in my macros. Great. Level 1 achieved, right?
That's right. Right.
Now let's start looking at these micronutrients and at fiber as its own entity. What I found was fascinating when I first started looking at this, when I was with the Maple Leafs, I was waiting for somebody to tell me this really complicated, really scientific, profound thing about the microbiome. And essentially it was just like, eat loads of different kinds of fiber and different colored veggies.
That's right. That's it, man.
The flora just needs something to eat.
Yep.
Right. If we don't feed it, it dies.
Yeah. Yeah, my friend, no notes. That's exactly the big rock when it comes to gut health.
Yeah.
Certainly, there are some supplements and probiotics, prebiotics. There's a whole industry on that, and we recommend them. And then going back to the other conversation about micronutrients, absolutely. And when people come to us and they have significant needs and deficiencies, then yeah, we leverage supplements for sure. That being said, and this is an ongoing conversation that I continue to have with clients. Just had a client call yesterday where bringing up some of the points. Supplementation should be regarded as like, well, the way to think about it is in the literal definition of the term supplement, meaning extra. It is
Yes.
beyond what is necessary. It is
Yes.
It's not something to be relied upon as foundational, right?
Yes.
I like to emphasize, let's establish the foundation. And once you've mastered the foundation, then we can talk about supplements to optimize that final like 5% of the overall picture. If you think about a pyramid, then the base of the pyramid is, in my opinion, and I go back and forth on this, I'd be curious your take, but the base of the pyramid is either sleep or nutrition. And we're going to put both down there. As far as like overall health, I think it's probably sleep, to be honest, or maybe before like nutritional needs. Anyway, but a close second in my mind is nutrition. I would put exercise as part of the foundation, but like we're now a distant third to those two and more in the middle of the pyramid. And then there's probably other, like stress management is probably further down in there as well. And then at the very, very tip, the smallest part of this pyramid, however, we can debate how we could structure all the lower levels, but to the point that we're making now, very, very tip, the least important part of it all from a keeping the structure together thing is the supplement piece. Right. Getting to your question of what can we do is, as far as like the relative importance of the different big pieces, that's going to be unique to each individual. Is whatever your biggest constraints are, your biggest needs, wherever you suck at the most right now, is probably where I would start working. Like for me, I've had the nutrition and exercise piece dialed in for years and years, and I can do that. Ironically, no pun intended here, but could do that stuff in my sleep. Where I personally have struggled for various reasons due to lack of prioritizing it personally. So I've just been a lousy sleeper for years. And so that's something personally that I'm working on. And like, that's if I can get that, if I can improve that area, I know that it'll have massive effects on everything else in my physiology, So all of this stuff hinges upon this notion of consistency. Everything about optimizing your lifestyle, your physiology, your health hinges upon consistency. And where supplements can be useful is to just do something consistently, right? If again, and this is also coupled with need, specifically a labs driven need. Again, the evergreen ones that I think almost everybody should be taking is some sort of multivitamin that covers most of your bases, magnesium and omega-3s. Okay.
Right.
Vitamin D. But vitamin D is going to be in most multis, so you don't even need that one on its own. Okay. So just getting someone started on those and and then maybe seeing some benefits, it's like, okay, like it's all you got to do is take the stupid pills. It's like the easiest thing in the world. Right. Yeah. But from a lifestyle adoption thing, okay, that's a baby step. Now let's talk about, all right, hit your protein numbers, Go to bed at the same time every night. Exercise basically causes massive physiological turnover across every organ system in the body. Right. And guess what? That involves these micronutrients, these vitamins and minerals. In many cases, they're cofactors or essential players in the various enzymatic reactions in the body. So somebody that's turning over at that high level all of the time, they are going to have a more significant like B vitamin need for red blood cell production, vitamin D need for like repair processes and so forth. So it's going to be suboptimal in the absence of adequate, what we call substrate and fuel, the adequate food intake to support the need. So
it's interesting, isn't it? Because these big rocks, our essentials are intelligent training, conscious nutrition, restorative sleep, our emotional, social, and spiritual connection, our brain health, and our proactive medicine are sort of how we create the foundation. We're a strength-based longevity program. So we put training as a pillar. And I think you're right. What is helpful is if somebody said, okay, I'm going to start taking creatine to help with lean mass. When they start taking creatine, they probably start lifting a little more.
That's right.
And so it's amazing how effective the creatine is once you start your lifting program.
That's right.
But sometimes like there's a bit of a play between the supplement and the actual lifestyle habit.
Yeah.
That can be beneficial. But
100%.
what we always talk about is it's the stimulus that's important. Mm-hmm. Whether that be a recovery stimulus like sleep and nutrition, or whether that be a training stimulus.
Yep. Yeah.
That's the thing that's going to move the needle.
100%. It is the interplay also. So there's the consistency aspect and the interplay. There's this, okay, I know that I've started taking creatine. I want to make sure I get good use out of it. So I'm going to train hard. Yeah. By the way, creatine, I'm glad you mentioned it. I almost think that one should be considered a micronutrient as well. The data on creatine are so compelling that it's almost like we should all be taking it. And I'm experimenting with higher doses too, like 10 to 15 grams per day, just because of the data on the cognitive benefits of it. So,
that data is really interesting. Like we always had our guys, in the NHL, goalies getting hit all the time, defensemen, all the fighters, the guys whose job it is to get punched in the head every game. They were always on a maintenance high dose of creatine because why
awesome.
not?
You guys were.
It certainly wasn't hurting them.
Wasn't hurting them, and I would say, I don't know when this was, but it was. It sounds like you were probably ahead of your time on that, because that's just now becoming more better understood. I know my boss Dan Garner has been a big proponent of that for a long time. Before it, he works quite a bit with like the UFC crowd.
Yeah.
And it's part of his. I mean, I don't know the details of it all, but he's got a concussion recovery protocol, of which creatine is a significant component. So
that was where it was for us. If anybody got a concussion, almost immediately, because what sets up immediately is an energy crisis in the brain, right? And so how do we augment that if we're struggling with oxygen delivery because of the disruption going on? How do we get those anaerobic pathways supported better? That for us was a really critical piece. And saw a huge benefit, with not only the initial recovery, but subsequent concussion. We found people less susceptible.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Good stuff.
Well, I think we've given people a ton of things, practical things that they can do here. I think the fiber is a really important one, the lifestyle habits, but just having the conversations with your doctors around expanding your blood panel. I really appreciate the emphasis there for you on that, the importance of that conversation. What are 3 things that you'd like people to take away that may not have access to you and me and all these wonderful services? What are 3 things people can go and practically do in their life today?
Well, you mentioned a minute ago that a big pillar of your work is strength, and strength training. If we haven't talked about it as much today, but I do think if you're not regularly exercising, and I'll define that as 3 to 4 days a week, ideally more. I'm a proponent of 5 or 6 days once you've built in the volume and the capacity for it. Don't start at that, right? And honestly, I'm in favor of it being somewhat uncomfortable during the sessions. That's a big one. And there should be a mix of the stimuli, like strength and endurance, and I'm a big fan of interval types training, blah blah blah. But I don't want to get into all that with your answer to the 3 things. But the biggest thing is within safety constraints, of course. If you're not pushing yourself to some level of discomfort on a regular basis, then you're leaving a lot of benefits on the table, particularly with regard to that primary versus secondary aging component that we talked about. The way to combat aging from a physical training standpoint is your training should at times look somewhat similar to how a real athlete is training. That's a belief that I have. So that's 1. 2, it's got to be the fiber thing, man. And you put it so well. A bunch of different color vegetables and a bunch of different types of fiber. And if you're into the tracking thing, maybe 20 to 30 grams per day is a good target. And I'd be remiss if I didn't say, if you were to assess your own energy levels and say that they're less than 7 out of 10, and also self-rate your sleep quality, if that's less than 7 out of 10, really, if your sleep quality is less than 8 or 9 out of 10, then you probably got some things that you can do to improve your sleep. And I'm going to say the biggest thing, everyone's heard the advice of like, put your screen away, blah, blah, blah. Well, okay, that's good. But something that I heard probably 2 years ago now that I've tried to adopt is, if you start thinking of every hour before midnight as like counts for 2 hours of sleep, and every hour after midnight counts as 1 hour, right? If you get the shifting that basically that's a way to help you shore up sleep hygiene and sleep quality. Thinking about that has been massively helpful for me. As every night after my son goes to bed, I look around, which is like, 8 between 8 and 9 o'clock. Honestly, he should probably go to bed earlier, but we party and we have fun. Then I look around like, there's so much stuff I can get done now. And then if I start cleaning my house or whatever, just piddling around the house, and it'll be really easy for me to stay up till 11 o'clock or even midnight. And it's like, well, there goes my, those 2 hours, like my bonus hours, you only get so many of those. When I'm organized and plan ahead and get myself situated such that I can go to bed at like 9 or even 10 o'clock at night.
Right.
I see it in my wearables. I see it and I feel it in my body.
Yeah.
All the measures, both objective and subjective, of sleep quality, they are immensely improved, and therefore lots of other things in life are better. Right.
Yeah.
So,
The sleep one's really interesting. I hadn't thought of it like that before, and haven't heard anyone else say it. The 2 hour blocks before
you
midnight.
Get a bonus hour for each one.
It's interesting. Like, as a way to weight the importance and ultimately just get you in bed earlier and
get your ass in bed earlier.
Get your block of sleep. And the screen thing's really interesting too. That it's always been a struggle for me, the screen. With ADHD, Instagram catches me in a second, right? So
same, 100%. Than the worst.
Okay, I'm going to start reading some fiction, some novels, and haven't really done it before. I've been, all reading about career and all this sort of stuff and self-development. So, I'm going to start reading a novel. Getting so into these damn novels that I'll end up staying up for like for another 2 hours, and it's like, it's not just the screen. It's what are we doing to disengage, right? What's the offer?
The wind down routine. And I agree. I don't think it's just screens. I think it's just, and I'm not a big, the data to me on like the color of the light and all that isn't particularly compelling, in my opinion. It's just being distracted. And Andy Galpin, my other boss, he was just on a podcast not long ago where he was talking about, it's like the reason people's sleep is so screwed up is, phones are part of it, but we're just easily distracted. I would easily get sucked into books too. I remember I've had phases of my life where I would like read all night as well. So, it's just a matter of turning everything off. I like a sound machine. Just get the room really, really dark and cold. I like about 65 degrees, and then just wait, just lay there and wait, and then you fall asleep.
Exactly. And all the other stuff sort of falls into place. I think once that happens, it's the structural piece, right? Like the screen is a factor for me because it just keeps me awake longer. If I put it down, I'll go to sleep.
That's right.
And for us, the other thing is our cats.
Oh yeah. Right? Yep.
So last night, a great example. Our cat has these little wool balls, loves throwing them in its water bowl. Then it fishes them out and comes and drops it on me in the middle of the night. So it's like,
that's so funny.
It's, again, we look for a complicated answer. And should I take melatonin? Should I take a supplement? Maybe it should just stop the cat dropping a wet ball on your face.
I've had, I don't anymore, but I've had cats in the past. And I remember one cat in particular, her name was Panda. She would wake me up every single night, like just pounce on me. She thought it was a game. It was very cute.
Well, this has been great. Tell us a little bit about Rapid.
Yeah. So there's some cool stuff going on with Rapid. So there's 3 different offerings. The newest one, which is the coolest thing that's going on now, is called Optima Muscle. Mm-hmm. And the coolest thing that's like kind of novel about it is the clients will have an MRI-based scan of the entire body to assess overall muscle mass and like things like imbalances between limbs and just identifying various areas like in need of like muscle development for whatever the client's goal may be, whether it's something athletic or just general body composition. That's one offering. There's another tier up that includes it includes a significant degree of coaching, and there's a full assessment of the various things that I've been talking about. From the hidden side, the only thing that we look at with that is the blood work. So there's no stool analysis with that one, for example. But then the top tier program is called Arate, and that's the clients who have the full panel of everything done. It's the full Monty. If you just Google Rapid Health Optimization, I know it's a long name. There's lots of information there.
Where can people follow along with you?
I'm on Instagram, Dr. Nathan Jenkins. My Instagram is a lot of fitness and food and a lot of goofy videos of me and my son playing. So
amazing.
It's a professional / personal account. You see it all, whatever. It's fun stuff. But yeah, I'd be happy to connect with folks there. If anybody ever wants to reach out and has any questions for me, I'd be happy to support in any way. So
awesome. Thank you so much for the time today. It's been so valuable to walk us through this whole world of blood work, because I think it's really poorly understood, and people are going to get so much from this. So thanks so much for your time.
Of course, man. Thank you so much for having me, and had a lot of fun.
That was such a powerful conversation with Dr. Nathan Jenkins. Here are the 3 key things that you can take away from today's episode. Number 1, if you're not regularly exercising 3 to 4 days a week and pushing yourself to some level of discomfort during your sessions, you're missing out on major benefits. Mix strength and endurance work, and don't be afraid to train with some intensity, because that's how you'll combat the effects of aging that are actually within your control. Number 2, eat a variety of different colored vegetables with different types of fiber, aiming for 20 to 30 grams per day. This single intervention is the foundation of gut health and will have positive ripple effects on inflammation, immunity, cognitive function, and overall performance. Number 3, think of every hour before midnight as being worth 2 hours of sleep. This simple mental framework can help you prioritize getting into bed earlier and dramatically improve your sleep quality, which affects literally everything else in your physiology. If this episode resonated with you, the best way that you can support the show is to follow us wherever you listen to your podcasts, leave a rating or review, and share this episode with somebody that you think could benefit from hearing this message. You can also stay connected with us on Instagram, LinkedIn, and YouTube at Vitality Collective Performance, where we share additional insights, behind-the-scenes content, and updates on upcoming episodes. If you'd like to learn more about what we do at Vitality Collective, visit www.vitality-collective.com. Thanks for being here, and we'll see you next time.